Most brands are losing customers before they even start marketing to them. Why? Because they skip the one step that makes their marketing work even harder to reach the right people. Now, if you skip this step, you will end up spending more, converting less, and watching your competitors scoop up the customers that you wanted to reach. So what's that step? It's all about getting crystal clear about who your brand serves. Now, I'm not just talking about demographics or psychographics, but identities, cultures, values, and lived experiences. Do this and your marketing becomes magnetic. Now, this is the first episode in a new series, The New Rules of Customer Acquisition. And of course, we're going to start with rule number 1, which also just so happens to be rule number 1 of inclusive marketing. As a marketer, it is very important for you to know that your ideal customers are both consciously and subconsciously looking for an answer to this fundamental question whenever they are considering whether or not they should be buying from you. That fundamental question is, will this product, service, or experience work for someone like me? And as a result, your job as a brand is to quickly and clearly communicate to your ideal customers that you want to serve that yes, your brand is for people like them. Now, there are a number of ways that you can do that, and we're going to cover some of those in this episode today, but we'll get even more in depth on what some of those ways are in another episode. But ultimately, because this fundamental question absolutely needs to be addressed by your brand, it is absolutely critical that you are super clear about defining who your ideal customers are. In other words, you have to be crystal clear about who the identities that are associated with someone like me are for the people that you want to serve, so that you can quickly, clearly, and effectively answer this question throughout various parts of your marketing mix and your customer journey. So let's look at how this plays out within each of the 4 elements of the marketing mix. So the first P that we're going to explore is product. So if we look at various examples of how brands are communicating this is for people like you with their products, one of my favorite examples comes from the technology space. Specifically, we're going to look at smartphones to illustrate. I have an iPhone and my husband Jonathan has a Samsung. I use my phone in English and he uses his in Spanish. Each of these brands decided whenever they were creating their phones that their ideal customers included people who spoke various different languages. So whatever psychographics, demographics, or other socioeconomic factors that the brand put in place to create the profile of who their ideal customer was, they had that profile, but they also knew that that meant that included in that profile was an identity of people who spoke various languages. So the brands have baked the ability to customize phone usage by language into their product design as part of their marketing mix. My daughter had a play date recently with one of her friends, and I was talking to her mom while they were playing, and she was showing me something on her phone which was configured all in Russian because that's her primary language. These brands have made very intentional decisions about how they will approach their marketing, and in this case their product and their product design, based upon the identities of the ideal customers they want to serve. But without first identifying that their ideal customers speak a variety of different languages and live in different markets, their ability to acquire customers would have been limited to just one language. So the next one that we're going to look at from the marketing mix is price. Now, price is another way that brands are very quickly and clearly able to communicate whether or not a product is for people like me. Pricing at a lower price point makes your product more accessible to a broader range of people. Payment plans for products at various prices make it more accessible to a broader range of people as well. And going with a high ticket price very much communicates quickly and clearly what type of customer the brand is looking to acquire. I mean, there have been plenty of times where I've looked at a product considering whether or not it was for someone like me, and then I looked at the price and realized absolutely not, this product is not for me. All right, the next P we're going to look at is promotion. With regards to promotion, this is a very common lever that brands will pull when it comes to helping to communicate whether or not their product is for people who have a specific identity. Now, the converse of this is true as well. Whenever brands don't actively choose the identities and they put out out their promotional materials and campaigns, sometimes they will be communicating this isn't for you for people that they do not intend to send that message to. And that's how they end up pushing consumers away inadvertently, and it hurts, of course, their customer acquisition efforts. Now, communicating with your promotional campaigns and messaging that this product is for someone like you becomes even more important when there is less of a distinction between your product offering and the pricing, or when it's less obvious. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been in a buying mood, like really literally had my credit card in hand only to look more closely at a brand's promotional materials, not to see anyone who looked like me. And then of course, second guessing whether or not I wanted to purchase or just canceling the whole thing altogether. For me personally, as a consumer, I need to see people like me who have had success with your product offering, especially if it's something that's at a higher price point, to feel like it can work for me too. Representation is a really important component of answering that fundamental question for the ideal consumers that you want to serve. Another way that brands can answer clearly and quickly that fundamental question, is this product for someone like me, for the people and the identities that they want to serve, is by creating specific campaigns designed to see, feature, and uplift specific communities. Kit Kat Canada has done a promotion for the Muslim community during Ramadan for a few years now to show them that the brand is indeed for them as well. They combined promotion with a limited edition Iftar Kit Kat bar that was a big hit that enabled the Muslim community to feel seen. Now, I do want to note that marketing to specific identities doesn't always have to mean creating a whole new specific campaign designed just for them. Sometimes it's just about creating messaging that makes it clear that people from specific identities feel seen, supported, and like they belong with you. I remember a review I came across where a person was reviewing a product that was a software, and the reviewer mentioned that it was easy to use for someone who isn't tech savvy like me. So messaging that directly and clearly speaks to the non-tech savvy person in this instance works well to answer that question. And that goes for other identities as well. And so the last P that we're going to cover is place. Now, where you distribute your product plays a very important role in helping your ideal customers identify whether or not your product is for someone like them. Earlier this year, there was a live in-person conference on a topic that I was very interested in for my business. However, I had zero interest in getting on a plane or getting in my car to travel to the conference in person. I was super excited when later on I saw that they were offering virtual tickets to the conference. And with this virtual ticket, they would send through the recording of all the conference sessions after it was over that I could watch on demand from the comfort of my own home whenever I wanted. I did not hesitate to make that purchase because the choice to offer virtual tickets made it clear to me that this conference is for people like me who don't want to have to travel to get the information I was looking for. Okay, so now that we see the different ways that answering that fundamental question, is this product for someone like me, plays out in various components of the marketing mix, and why it's important to take the time to choose specifically which identities that you want to serve, let's get into where brands struggle with this. And we'll do that by first looking at what happens when brands don't answer that fundamental question, will this product work for someone like me? Basically, it causes friction. It makes people hesitate in buying from you, and it encourages them to explore other options. And if a brand isn't quickly and clearly communicating this product is for someone like you, the people that the brand wants to serve will go somewhere else, or they'll just keep on doing what they've been doing. For instance, as a gluten-free person, I can quickly and clearly see whether or not a restaurant is for me by having a quick glance at their menu. But in other cases, for different problems that different brands solve, figuring out whether or not a brand is for them might not always be so simple and easy. I did some user testing research one time with a man who identifies as gay, and he told me that when it came time to book hotels for a vacation, he often needed to spend some extra time exploring whether or not a hotel was safe and welcoming for people like him, specifically people who are part of the LGBTQ+ community. One hotel that we explored didn't really have anything on their website. Now, this is where some LGBTQ+ friendly messaging would have been great to have to clearly and quickly communicate that the hotel was indeed for people like him. Eventually, he saw some posts on the hotel's Instagram account that showed the brand at a pride parade so he got his answer. However, you should not expect that consumers are going to do so much digging and go through all that effort to find out whether or not your product is for people like them. That's why it is super important to make sure that you are communicating that message as quickly and clearly as possible. Another consumer I interviewed was looking at Instagram profiles of photographers, and within 15 seconds, she knew the photographer wasn't for her because she didn't see anyone who looked like her on the profile, which was full of past clients. She wasn't going to spend one additional second digging through that profile to find if there was anyone who was like her who was part of that client base. All right, so if your goal is to acquire more customers, make sure that you are quickly and clearly communicating to them that your product, your service, your experience that you are offering is for people like them. When you do that, you will acquire more of the customers that you want. But here's where brands are falling short in doing that. Because I fully believe in their minds, brands and marketers believe that they have already done a good job of sufficiently defining who their ideal customers are. But in reality, most of the time, they have not done this sufficiently enough. And as a result, their marketing and their customer acquisition efforts are nowhere near as effective as they could be. So once you create a profile of the types of customers that you want to serve for your brand, go one step further and list out the various identities of the different types of people who fit that customer profile. So let's say you are a hotel and you want to do a better job of acquiring women travelers between the ages of 24 and 35. That covers a number of different identities, including solo travelers, women traveling with a partner, women traveling with kids, women who are pregnant, women who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, women who are smokers, pet owners who speak different languages, have dietary restrictions, have various body sizes and types, women who have disabilities, women who practice various religions, and even women who are grieving. Not everyone who goes to a hotel is doing so for a happy reason. And the list goes on and on and on and on. All right, so if we know that these are the various different identities of the different types of people who have the problem that your brand solves, and they are your ideal customer, they fully fit that profile, I am not saying that you have to serve every single one of those identities and answer that fundamental question for them. If you want to do that, great, go for it, more power to you, I'm all for it. But if you only have the resources to really focus in and support 5 of these identities, select those 5 and then figure out what would you need to do for each of them throughout your marketing mix and customer journey to make them see clearly and quickly that your brand is indeed for people like them. And when you do, you will be so much more effective at acquiring these customers. Now, a quick disclaimer for you, those other identities that you decided not to focus on, that does not mean that they are not welcome in your business or that you don't want to serve them. Rather, it just means that those people with those identities that you haven't selected probably won't quickly and clearly receive that signal from you that your product is for people like them. For some people, that might be a-okay. All right, so rule number 1 of customer acquisition is this. Make sure you identify and choose the different identities of the ideal customers you've chosen to serve and infuse signals throughout your marketing mix and customer journey that clearly and quickly communicate your brand is for them. You'll see a much bigger return on your marketing resources whenever you do. Now, if you realize that this is a step that your brand is skipping, don't worry, you are not alone. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it out for yourself. That's exactly why I created the New Rules strategy session to help you build a customer acquisition roadmap that works today with today's consumers. I'll link to it below if you'd like personalized guidance for your brand. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves to have a place where they belong. Let's use our individual and collective power to ensure more people feel like they do. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon.